So I had this as part of another video, but I'll do it only for this one. So say I've got this sort of basic head template here, and I want to match to this guy here. So usually what I would do is I would, just, I guess, to practice my eye, I would try and match it up by hand. So, just by having the reference next to it. So, try to pull the head back a bit, maybe the nose goes up. I can see all these sort of basic shapes and fill out the bottom of the neck here. But usually what I would do, or when I was actually, to be honest, when I was sort of learning this stuff and trying to learn the forms better, I would go straight from what I'm sculpting and overlay it directly on the reference. So usually what I would do is I would make a couple of eyeballs. So let's add a sphere, mirror it, and pull it off to the side, and get these sort of roughly placed where they need to be. So that's about right from the sides, a bit smaller. Look at the front, pull them in so that they feel about right. And the reason I do this first is, it's useful to have spheres to sculpt your eyes over. So, I'd start to do a thing like that to build it up. But more importantly, I can use these as landmarks to line up my sculpt against the reference. So what I would usually do is I would start to move the reference. So I'd scale it up and move it to the center of my screen. Say that, for example, and confirm it. Then I'm going to turn the overlay up so that this is now completely covering my artwork, and I'm going to tap the wireframe button, and might even for now just turn off the actual sculpt itself so that I'm only looking at the eyeballs. The reason for this is that now I can use this as anchors to line up the sculpt, so I can kind of look and get these to roughly align to the reference, so it's like that. And then I can then toggle the reference on and off and see if this matches up. And I can turn the sculpt back on and see if that matches up. And then now that I've got this sort of locked in, roughly aligned, I will even now go across to the camera, and with the overlay, with the reference image turned on, I'll save a camera with this add view button. So now what happens is I can turn off wireframe, and I can now just I've got this reference image button bound to the R key on my keyboard, so I can tap R on and off and see what's going on. And this way it's really easy to see if I'm on target or if I'm wrong. So I'm going to use the drag tool, and I'm going to push out the neck more. So I'm going to make the neck come a bit further forward, like that, a bit wider from the front maybe. And then when I tap R, I've got the C button mapped to, I think it's the next V button. Actually, where do I have that? So go bindings, search for C. So I've got it bound to this next key here. So when I tap C, it drops me back to this view, and I can tap R to then line up. So the neck here is still wrong, so I'm going to try and fix that up. Like that. Look where else. So the head is too high, so I'll pull that down. Use a nice big brush. Get this sort of like really silly caricatured shape. See again, the nose is too short, so I'll pull it out. Like that. Head has to come down even further, so it's much more kind of stylized. It's this kind of quite extreme shape like that. Back to here, lower still. Oops, maybe the brush is a bit too big. Undo, like that. How's that going? Lower still. That's actually hair back there, so I'll make sure to indicate that. So it's like hair, it's kind of like that kind of thing. How's that going? So now the brows are too low, so I'll drag them up. I can just do it from here. So if you look at the time lapses I make, you see that I'm constantly flashing this back and forth to see what I'm doing. I'm now try and indicate some of these lines. On there, so a line there for the jaw. So a line there for the cheek, line there for the eye bag. You can see already this is now starting to kind of get closer to the reference, and I'll see if I can fix up the mouth a bit more. So the mouth is much more pushed forward, and it's much more sort of pointy, uppy downy. So I'm going to pull this out like that. I'm going to pull those points up, so it has this sort of like cruel looking mouth. It's getting better, but it's too high. And that point should come down a lot more like that. That's starting to get there, a little bit more forward and down, I think. Like that. So it's a combination of using this to make sure that the landmarks roughly match up, but also trusting my my eye, because I know sort of enough about where the features of the skull and the face should be that it sort of looks correct if I spin it in 3D. So that again, build up a bit more volume on the neck, this chin here, through there, just so it makes more sense to me. I'm going to use this curve brush and try and just trim off the base here, like that. The ear should be smaller. So this is kind of how I line these things up, and then I can use this to help correct my sculpts. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, that'll do for now.